There you go. Okay, we'll get started, everyone. Um, this is the info session for our book revision lab, and I will be talking about some of the other programs as well if you have questions, but we're going to try to focus on that. And before we really get started, I kind of want to introduce us here from the team at Book Inc. And Project Right Now, and then turn it over to you guys because I'd love to hear a bit about what everyone's working on and what they're interested in so we can make sure you get the info you need tonight. So I'm Michelle Cantos Garcia. I am a writer and editor based in Red Bank, New Jersey. I moved here from Brooklyn like a year and a half ago and have loved this writing community here locally. So I'm going to have everyone answer the questions here, but I'll kind of start. So I write memoir and fiction, but really focus on memoir, and I've completed the Memoir Incubator, the Book Revision Lab, and I'm signing up for other things. And so that's a bit about me. And then I'm going to hand it over to Jennifer Chauhan, who is our director. Would you introduce yourself, Jen?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy you're all here. My name is Jennifer Chauhan, and I am one of the co-founders and executive director of Project Right Now, the umbrella organization for Book Inc. And I'm zooming in from North Bergen County, New Jersey. Even though I founded the organization in Red Bank, I relocated to Northern Bergen County. I write YA, young adult literature. That's my passion, but I am currently in the memoir incubator because I have been teaching memoir classes here at Project Right Now for more than 10 years. And I'm finally tackling a full length manuscript, but I have been in book revision lab and I have been in the book submission lab program as well. So I've done both of those booking programs in the past and a current memoir incubator student or writer, I should say, because we say writer, not student.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. And you'll notice that we'll mention some other folks. A lot of our writers become students, become pals, which are the peer artist leaders, kind of like teachers and facilitators. We're all in the writing and on the admin side of things, so that's kind of a fun thing. We're all on the ground writing with you. So okay, I'm going to start calling on some folks. Just would love to know where you're tuning in from, your preferred genre, and what program or yeah, what you're interested in with booking. So I'll start with Jennifer Leal because I see you on my screen.
Hi. I am from deep South Texas, so I'm probably about 30 minutes from South Padre Island. I really love mystery thriller, but right now I'm kind of deep into urban fantasy. So that's kind of where I am right now. I'm not sure about which program I would apply to. I'm just kind of interested in getting a lot of information today.
Okay, great. Just out of curiosity, you is there like a project you've been working on? What stage are you in?
So I'm still in draft one, but I'm about halfway through that first draft. I read a lot of Charlene Harris when I was, fresh out of high school, and so that kind of pushed me into that realm. But yeah, so I'm just interested in finding a group of people and a program that'll help me kind of get through that.
Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Jennifer. Really nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Next I see Dara or Dira. You can tell me how to pronounce your name also. Sorry about that.
Good afternoon. It's Dira.
Dira.
Uh, Dira Williams. I'm tuning in from California, Oakland, to be exact. I write both nonfiction and fiction, personal essay, memoir, and but I'm focusing on my fiction for a novel. So I will be applying for the novel program
Amazing.
revision.
Great. Great. So you finished your draft. That feel great.
Yeah, well, for what it's worth, it's it's finished. So it's a big droopy outline, I say, but yeah, I finished. I have a lot to do, a
Yeah.
lot of revisions to make.
Yeah. Congrats. I feel you. I feel like we're all in that, none of us is ever too proud of our first draft, but we have to, right? We have to, it's done. That's the first step,
Yeah.
telling yourself the
Mm,
story.
right.
So it sounds like you're in the right place, Dara. It's really good to meet you. Anna M.
Anna Mikov. Hi. So I'm originally from New York, but I'm tuning in from California, just kind of up the ways from Dira. I'm just north of Berkeley, so that's a coincidence. um,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I am writing a novel. I don't yet have the first draft. I thought I would by this point, but I'm kind of pushing it along, even though the writing is kind of shoddy in a lot of places. I have published short memoir and fiction in the past many years ago, and this novel has kind of taken over for years. It's been kind of taken over. It's this big morass. I would put it in the literary category, and I'm interested in the novel revision workshop, although there's some question in my mind whether I'll be ready for the upcoming one or whether I'll need to wait for the next one in 2026. So I have some questions kind of that will be geared toward that. The absolute point at which we'll be handing over our revised draft and things like that. And I should say, I've spoken to Elizabeth Januzzi.
Yeah.
Yes.
Last fall, I was going to do the novel writing cohort, but then I felt like I could just move this along on my own, and I then kind of refocus for the revision, which I think is the right place for me to be, but I'm behind in that first draft. I'm maybe 3/4 of the way through, I would say.
Well, that's still amazing. That's great.
For sure. And we've had a few folks. I think I will give us all a walkthrough of the application. So that's going to prompt a lot of these specific questions for each of you, I'm sure. Um, we have some parameters, but the writing journey is so different for everyone. So we've got a few instances of folks who were in a similar stage, Anna, and like thinking through revision or reading next year. So we'll get to all that. But thank you so much. And it's nice to see there's two Californians, somewhat
Well,
neighbors.
I just have to ask, because my brother lives in Novato, so
Oh.
I don't know if anyone. I think you're probably pretty close to Novato.
Not far,
Mhm.
about an hour. Yeah,
I love it out there.
yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Next up, I see Tina. Tina, would you share with us where you're tuning in from? Oh,
I'm so sorry I'm late. That's terrible. I can't believe I did that. I'm in Tacoma Park, Maryland, which is about 6 miles from the capital. I say that because it's very stressful. And my preferred genre, well, are all of them. And I don't know what program I'm applying to, but what I'm working on will determine, it's kind of fictional memoir. So
awesome. May I
that's
ask
it.
stage of the writing you're in? Are you like outlining
Well,
just an idea?
I'm looking for my reading glasses. No, I have actually, it's a blog that I want to turn into a book. And it's based
I
on
see.
a handwritten journal that my aunt kept, who was born in Italy. She kept it from 1966 to 1967 when she went back to live with our relatives. And so I want to take that and take the blog. And I know it's not just a matter of copying words from the blog. It's a whole different format. So that'll be a challenge.
Awesome. Well, I think Jennifer and I have both met Vicky Hardingwood. So one of our writers did something, or actually we might have a few folks who had like successful blogs that they were pouring into for a couple years that then they used to write a book. So we have some experience with that. It's definitely a unique and exciting challenge. So good to hear that we have some more folks doing that, Tina. That's really cool.
Thanks.
Awesome. I'm going to look down the list and next I see Lisa. Lisa, do you want to share a little bit?
Sure. Like I said, I'm living in Chattanooga now. I'm a native Texan, spent 17 years in North Carolina. And I have a novel right now. It's speculative fiction. And I finished the first draft. I've been in a writer's group where we meet every other week. But in addition to those folks, I sent out a beta review to about 4 different beta readers and had been collecting feedback on that and trying to figure out, how to attack the revision process.
That's awesome that you've got some first beta readers. I think that makes such a difference. Um, Great. And I think the last person I see, but correct me if I've missed anyone, the next one is Denise.
Yeah, hi everybody. I apologize for not being on camera. I'm out of my office now and I'm moving around. So
No worries.
I didn't want to be obnoxious with the camera. But I'm Denise Brossman. I'm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, but I identify as Philadelphia. I'm actually a I don't know anything about novel writing. I'm a TV writer. And I turned the show that I wrote and sold to Peacock, and then got returned to me when after the Writers Guild strike, I turned it into a first draft. The our industry in writing, I don't know any of you guys ever wrote for TV or film or streamers or anything, but it's just been decimated by this first COVID, then the strike, and my deal hung on as long as possible, but then it just wasn't doable. So it's actually I write for kids and family, and it's a young adult, middle grade kind of thing, I think. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I turned the first season that we had already cast. I turned that into a first draft, and that's what I have. But I don't really know if I did it correctly. So
Thank you. Wow, that's so many questions on that. It's such an interesting topic. The last few years have been so absolutely maddening in some industries. But thank you so much, Denise. You'll be interested to know we have some film writers. So there's some, and I'm starting to look at like screenplays. So a lot of us have, we all explore different genres, which is really fun.
awesome.
But good to hear that you're taking this project and doing something else with it and continuing to pour into it. So I think I've got everyone, right?
Everyone that I see, yes, I believe.
Okay, great. And we can always introduce anyone if they join after. But
Yes.
yeah, I just wanted you all to kind of hear from each other and get a sense of where everyone is. This is kind of what most of our programs look like, folks from around the country, different genres, somewhat different stages of writing their idea. We all come from very different backgrounds. Like I don't have an MFA or an English degree, but I had a PR training that I turned into an editing job once, and now I'm teaching and writing. So it's a pretty diverse group in terms of genre, life experience, writing experience, and it's really fruitful for that because we get to learn from each other. So just giving you a sense of some of the folks that join us, and I'm going to dig into the presentation now. Jen, if I cut out or anything, let me know. I'm going to minimize the screen where I see you folks, so feel free to stop me if anything. Okay, and hope everyone can see my screen, but just a very quick overview of who we are at Book Inc. So Book Inc. Helps, we write, revise, and publish memoirs and novels in a community setting. We believe that that is what makes the difference in completing our projects. It's how writers have always completed these amazing works, usually being in conversation with other writers. So we were founded in 2020 by Jen Chauhan as one of the co-founders, and now we have over 100 writers who are achieving amazing things every year. We've got about over 100 completed first drafts, 200 plus revised drafts. These numbers also are probably a little outdated. I'm sure there's a little bit more of this, but 40 plus books currently querying, and at least 150 published essays on our website from our writers in our in-house journal called The Journal. Jen, do you want to say anything else?
Yeah, well, first, I do want to give credit to one of our co-founders, Greg Phelan, who is the founder and previous director of Book Inc. and who retired. But, very much I love the community aspect of it is really important with Book Inc. and even in the bigger realm of project right now. But I also wanted to share some exciting success stories too that I'd love to add to this, including 3 of our writers will be publishing next year. So we have a memoir writer, a novel writer, 2 memoir writers, and a novel writer. So, I think what's important to know is like our community is really about meeting you where you are, helping you move forward with whatever your goal is. So, 150 published essays on the journal, but also a lot of the writers are publishing in high-end literary magazines and, or even I think whoever was talking about the script writing, we have a screenwriter who has had, winning contests and things like that. So, even though it's not about the achievement of stuff, there is a lot of success, but it is really about process oriented and really supporting each other along the process of our art and of our work.
Thank you so much. I have to add those folks in. This has been a really exciting year with so many folks getting published, and I'm sure you've known them longer than I have, Jen, but they've been at it for years, and it's so cool to
Yes.
see they're meeting their goals.
And one of those writers is Liz Januzzi, who is the program manager of booking. So we're very excited for her.
Yeah. And goes back to what I was mentioning, like we're all kind of in the writing, running things behind the scenes, presenting, reading each other's work. So it's a really fun place to, personally, I think it's a really fun place to write, and I feel very encouraged. And here are some of the faces of our folks. But I will continue. So I'm going to give you a very quick overview of all the programming we have. Today we're going to focus on the revision lab, but at the end, if you have questions about any other one of our offerings, we can go through those. But this is kind of in order what a typical student will kind of run through all these programs or come in at different stages. So the first offering we have is the 12-month novel or memoir incubator. That is where folks who want to write their manuscript, get to those 50,000 words, get together and do that for a year. And it provides accountability, some craft lessons, and the structure to write and then have your work read by peer writers, and then a first revision plan. Then the next 6 months, and I'm currently one of the co-pals, one of the peer artist leaders, facilitators in the revision lab, but that is for anyone who has completed a first draft or completed a draft of their manuscript and now wants to revise. I'll be focusing the majority of today on that, but when folks leave that course, they can go into our 3-week book submission boot camp, which helps you craft your book submission package and plan. So figuring out a strategy for how to pitch your work to publishers, agents, etc. And so those are the like structured programs, the like in-class time. But then we have these other offerings for all of our writers to continue just nurturing that community and their platform as writers. So we've got a monthly accountability community called the Book Writers Forum. And then we've also got the journal, which is kind of our in-house blog, magazine, and a writers page where all of our writers can begin to kind of build that portfolio that they can share as they're going out into the world and getting their writing out there. So if you have any questions about any of these, we can answer it at the Q&A. But for now, I'm going to dig into Book Revision Lab, which is the program, one of the programs actively enrolling. So this is the 6-month program designed for writers ready to refine their completed memoirs or novels through feedback and support. This will start, or this latest cohort will start July 17th through December 11th. We meet on Thursdays, every other Thursday, so twice a month from 7 to 9 p.m. And we do this over Zoom, which is awesome because that means we can have folks from California and Tennessee and Texas and Pennsylvania and all these places and really be learning from one another. The outcomes are, these are some of the things that folks leave with from the revision lab. You're going to enhance the quality of your manuscript, through story analysis. And in recent years, we've enlisted a story coach, actually a screenwriter, a filmmaker, who does a fantastic job of kind of walking you through dissecting your work and walking you through improvements you can make. So I went through that for the first time ever in my writing journey a few months ago, and it was pretty game changing. So I really enjoyed that part of it. But we start with that. We have craft lessons. You get feedback from other readers. And the goal really is to then with all of this feedback, develop your revision plans to eventually prepare for querying. I included the cost. Right now it's $875, and we don't have a official deadline. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jen. So the program begins July 17th. Just on based on my experience, I would recommend folks apply at least by July 10th just to secure your spot. And also, it helps us to know how many novel folks we have, how many memoir folks we have, to really balance out those classes and make sure that we're planning and targeting all of the lessons to those needs. I'll walk us through the application in a moment, but the high level things you need to work on for that application is a 25-word book idea, a short bio, kind of introducing yourself and your writing, and then a 2 to 5 page writing sample. I'll speak a bit more about this, but I think the writing sample is what can be most intimidating. It was to me. So we can go over that. But I found that the readers of the application, I think, including folks like Liz Newsy, were very gracious and really looking at the potential and the commitment. So I hope that's not already intimidating to y'all, because I was very afraid of the writing sample. I'm always afraid of submitting my work somewhere. So I'm going to dig in.
Oh, and can I just back up for just 1 second?
Yes.
Michelle, that's okay. I just want to reiterate what you said, because I think one of the most amazing parts of the Book Revision Lab is that one-on-one story coaching with Lizzie Finn. So Lizzie Finn is our resident screenwriting instructor, but truly an expert in storytelling, especially looking at developing character. And so within this program, you do get that one-on-one coaching with Lizzie that's embedded into the program. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that that was factored into the cost of this.
Yes. Thank you. And you might have, I actually appreciate your help diving into these things. So this is kind of what the 6 months looks like, broken up by week and by topic. So what Jen just mentioned, the story analysis, story coaching, is the first 4 weeks of the revision lab. And that's really, so what you end up submitting to the story coach, to Lizzie Finn, is the outline, a bit of a character breakdowns, and she analyzes, looks at structure, both for memoir and novel, and helps you really tie together the story and kind of gives you, I actually made a quick list. I can't see it here. Well, so I was looking at the feedback that she gave me, and she fills out this report after reading your outline that includes a log line, which is something that I'm sure the screenwriter among us has heard before. She gave me a list of films, movies, books that reminded her of the work that I'm putting out there, kind of clarified the genre that I'm entering within memoir, did a story or a character analysis and helped firm up some of the loose ends in my story that didn't quite make sense just yet. So it was a really in-depth. Jen, do you want to speak to that a little bit more?
The story coaching part?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Lizzie, and I was in Lizzie's screenwriting class for a lot of years, but I think what she really helps you do is understand how you're like really looking at the emotional arc of the narrator, whether it's memoir or fiction or YA, but just really, I think there's this whole idea of like the overall structure. You can kind of structure your story linear or nonlinear, but it's really about the development of character in that. So, looking at, how are we introduced to the character? What are the wounds of the character? What's igniting the character's journey? So she really does a nice job of looking at that. But what I also love, Michelle, is what you just said about helping with logline, helping with story comp, so that you're already thinking ahead of, like, you're already thinking about submitting. So it's not like you finish the book revision lab and then you're like, oh, now I'm going to submit. It's like it's embedded into how you're looking at your work while you're in book revision lab. So I think she gives you a head start on that.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's exactly it. So those first 4 weeks of the year, kind of excuse me, no, this is the July cohort. We have another one, January. Scratch that. The first 4 weeks of the book revision lab, you are digging into the real meat of your story. And then the next 12 weeks, we enter revision and best practices. So what this looks like is, mini lessons, check-ins, and just some structure for how to go about the actual revision. So both implementing some of the feedback that you get from the story analysis, but then looking at sentence level revision techniques and how you tackle this, right? So we are almost done with the book revision lab that was happening at the start of the year, and I'm teaching that one of those classes on Thursday. We're at the point where we're doing our to-do list after like my final to-do list of things to tackle, to edit, and how to go about it. So this is the part that gets really specific. And so we do that to firm up, to do a kind of a first pass at our manuscripts and prepare it for reading, which is the next 6 weeks of our reading round. So we break up into groups of 3 to 4 usually. We try to stake the novel folks with novel folks, memoir folks with the memoir folks, and we try as best as we can to match you with folks who are just writing similarly or kind of tackling similar topics or similar challenges. But this is where you get to give and receive feedback on your manuscripts, and further enhance that the revision plan that you're coming up with. And then we spend the last 2 weeks of the book revision lab, like I mentioned, putting together your action plan, your revision plan. So any questions? I think this might be a good place to stop and kind of get a feel for where the room is. Any questions so far? Anna, please.
I do, yeah. I'm wondering, so with the story analysis, obviously you're not handing over the draft. You're handing over a synopsis of the plot, descriptions of character, and maybe the first few pages of the novel so that this reader can get a sense of the flavor of the language. Is that kind of, because without seeing the actual language, I don't see how you can respond to anything since the story is embedded in the language. So is that part of it, or it's just the plot and the character?
Yeah,
Or
so you handed about 3 pages, and we will what we do is our story coach gives a like a structured document that you kind of fill out, but I handed in a complete outline divided into 3 acts, and I used the Save the Cats beats from like screenwriting, and presented that, and then a character analysis, which is just another sheet that I filled in and answered questions about my main character, the antagonist, etc. So yeah, you definitely don't hand in your entire draft. That would be impossible for one story coach to get through in 4 weeks. And again, the story analysis is not for that sentence level revision or for.
No, I get that. I guess my other question is, mine is it's an episodic coming of age story, and so it's really like 5 stories set in one. And one of the reasons I didn't want to do the novel was because Save the Cat doesn't speak to me at all. So I'm wondering, is this going to be given to someone who's going to fit this into a Save the Cat mode? Or, I mean, how does that structure, what I just described, episodic, fit in? Can it fit in? I think it should be able to, because it's just
I think it should be fitted in. And also just to share about Project Right Now, like we are writer focused or writer based. So if there's a type of feedback that you would like more of, that, like obviously as Michelle said, we're not going to hand over the whole draft, but if you're like, hey, I'd like you to just kind of glance at my first couple of pages and factor that in, I mean, I think we can work with you in terms of what would make the most sense in looking at, because we do understand that a lot of people's work, like similar if you were writing memoirs and essays, like that's not going to follow that per se. So it's really not so much about retrofitting something into something that just for the sake of doing that. It's about character. Like that's the part, that's what the leaning into character development. Like that's, to me, that is where I really lean into the internal transformation of character is really where the focus is.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think the thing we hear a lot, or I've heard Lizzie specifically say, is a story is a story is a story. And so, we're all writing across genres. It definitely the way we outline is quite different. I actually resisted outlining for a long time, and Save the Cat was really difficult for me. So I tried like Matt Bell's like 40 sentence exercise. But yeah, everyone's pretty open to that and working with folks and kind of meeting them where they are. But I think what's really special about the story analysis is just there's kind of a practicality that Lizzie offers, which, I was writing my manuscript last year. I spent a year just in my own world, in my own head, and I had other writers as my beta readers who were also working on their memoirs. And this was the first time someone kind of removed from
Mm.
not one of my peers and like not someone who's actively writing this and who has